Hey, I'm Brandon, and today we are checking out the HJC RPHA 1-in helmet, aka the RPHA 1-in. This is geared towards riders out there utilizing this on the track or the race-oriented application, right? This is designed for those high-speed applications. And it's going to be something that I know a lot of riders out there are going to be utilizing on the street. I certainly have for the past few days, and it's performed very well. And there are going to be some creature comforts that are geared towards that street riding application, such as speaker pockets and things of that nature. We'll get into more of that in just a bit, but just know the main purpose, the main design, the shell design, the spoiler that it's coming with, everything is geared towards those higher speeds. So just keep that in mind. Talking about some of the details here, we've got the P.I.M Plus shell. We've seen that from HJC for years and years, right? 4 shell sizes overall and 4 EPS. I like that because, more shell sizes we have, the more EPS, it just helps keep the helmet nice and low profile, and it just gives it a bit more of a unique and more proper fit within those shells, right? So 4 shell sizes, you're looking at 2 extra small, 2 extra small in that one shell. Then we've got small and medium in the other shell. Large gets its own shell because it's the special size there, I reckon. And then you've got an extra large to 2XL in that 4th and final shell. And again, it just helps keep everything nice and low profile and just makes for a more comfortable and more precise fit the more shells that you have. DOT, ECE, and FIM certified. That is really nice to have. I'm only seeing a handful of helmets with DOT, ECE, and FIM. Hopefully it starts becoming the norm when you start getting into the more premium options and the more race bred style helmets. So really like that it has all 3 of those certifications. Really nice to have that, and I'm sure we'll see more of that down the road. $700 by the way, really not bad for everything that you're getting. In my personal opinion, it feels very premium. It feels, on those top tier kind of $1,000 to $1,400 helmets out there. Not going to name any names, but I'm sure you're aware of some of the options I'm talking about. It feels very premium for this particular price point, and I like some of the features that they're providing. I also really like this pronounced spoiler, which I'll get into more in just a moment. 3 pounds, 8 ounces in a size medium. Now that's not the lightest helmet that we've seen on the market, right? But it is because it's not only because of this spoiler, but this is very pronounced, right? It's going to help with the overall aerodynamics, but it's a bit more material in this particular area, so that is going to add a little bit of weight. And you've heard us say it time and time again, but it's certainly true. It does wear its weight very well. It feels very aerodynamic, very stable, at those higher speeds. I've been testing this quite a bit lately, and it works very, very well. And the weight doesn't, feel very heavy on the neck or anything like that. But keep in mind, 3 pounds, 8 ounces, it is a little bit heavier, but it isn't really geared towards someone touring across the country in this, right? You're not usually wearing something like this for 8 hours at a time. You're doing your 20-minute sessions, 17 to 20-minute sessions on the track, and then you're coming right back into the pits, taking your helmet off, prepping the bike again for your next session. So keep that in mind. While that weight might sound a little egregious to some out there, I don't really knock it too hard and didn't notice it as being an issue for the race riding application. So the other features I want to mention, intermediate to round oval. That is going to be the internal shape right here. It's a bit more on the round side, leaves a little bit of a hot spot for me on the front of my forehead because I'm certainly an intermediate oval versus being more on that round side. Still a bit more elongated front to back than it's going to be side to side, but just keep that in mind. It does favor a little bit towards the round side of the spectrum. So certainly something I would recommend, trying on the helmet, wear it for 30 to 45 minutes in the comfort of your home, watch some TV. Just make sure you're not getting any, egregious hot spots or anything like that because it has a bit more of that intermediate to round oval internal shape. The other thing I wanted to mention about the internal fit is that it is very snug, right? This is a race fit. It is designed to maintain stability at those higher speeds. So it is going to feel nice and snug right out of the gate. Of course, that is going to relax a bit, break in very well with regular use and time as you sweat in this helmet as you use it. That stuff is going to be more form-fitting, the interior liner that is, more form-fitting to your facial features with a bit of time. So just keep that in mind. Let's talk about some of the features here. Moving our way to the front, we've got these active vents right here, 2 active vents at the front. We've got one right there at the brow, and then we've got 2 more that slide back. Very, very easy to manipulate, even with the gloved hand. No problems there. I've been testing quite a few helmets lately, and I've ran into some very cumbersome intake vents. And yeah, when they don't work, when they're a pain to manipulate, that's going to be a deal breaker for me because I like being able to open and close these very easily. I don't want to have to worry about fussing and wrestling intake vents, right? It's very simple. Towards the rear, we've got some exhaust vents here that's going to create that Venturi effect for the helmet, pulling that airflow through the helmet to keep you nice and cool surrounding the head so you can stay more comfortable when you're out there riding, especially in the track application, right? You're wrestling that bike, it's higher speeds, you're going to sweat a bit more, so any additional airflow you can get is certainly going to be beneficial. And the overall shell shape, I mentioned this spoiler in the before, right? Look how pronounced this thing is. It's pretty stout. It is geared towards, you know, those higher speeds and giving you more or better, I should say, aerodynamics for those higher speeds. And speaking of, they do include a larger spoiler if this one isn't doing the trick. If that's not large enough for you, this actually hooks up on the side right here towards the rear. You can see it's got some pretty strong adhesive. It is going to add some additional aerodynamics and downward force, you know, very beneficial for those higher speeds. That is going to be included in the box. I don't think this is something you're really going to benefit from utilizing on the street unless you're doing a $120 on a routine basis, but I certainly think it's going to be beneficial for, you know, full tuck on that straightaway, you know, in the track riding positioning there. Now, speaking of the track riding position, I did also want to note, if you're throwing this on your helmet, right? Maybe your track leathers have a race hump, most do. Maybe you have a leather jacket that has a built-in race hump. Make sure in that full tuck riding position that this isn't going to be an issue, that this isn't going to hit the race hump or cause any issues there. It's going to vary from one rider to the next. We all come in different shapes and sizes. We're riding different bikes and things like that. So what I would recommend, if you know this is something you're going to be utilizing with your race leathers, throw it on the helmet and then get in that full tuck riding position, you know, in your driveway or whatever. Have a buddy hold up your bike or put it on some stand, something like that, and just get in that tuck position. Make sure it's not going to be an issue, because that's the last place where you want to have any issues or have any movement being hindered by something like a rear spoiler. Now, the face shield itself, very flat, excellent optics here. Got some detents in there, nothing overly aggressive. Obviously, most of us aren't going to be riding with it cracked open, but you do have a pretty solid detent kind of right there in that center point. But I like the overall shield, great field of vision. The optics are great. You can actually lock the shield down. You'll hear that snap, and you can slide this right over, and that's going to keep it locked in place, especially handy for, again, the race application, as this helmet is designed for those higher speeds and for that application. We've got a pin lock ready and tear off ready face shield, of course, and then you've got the pin lock insert included in the box. That's going to help eliminate fogging. That will be included in there. It's not a quick release face shield, I will note. You just got this little tab. You just twist that, and that can take the shield right off. Very, very simple design, very low profile, doesn't take away from it. But for those of you out there that look for quick release face shields, you know, that is something worth noting. Now, swing our way to the inside here. Let's take a quick look here. Double D-ring closure for the chin strap. Very straightforward, seen that time and time again. Certainly what I personally prefer. And then we've got the interior liner here. Very straightforward. You can see the contour to the facial features. That will relax, that will break in with regular use and time. So don't worry about that if it is nice and snug out of the box, but you don't want any hot spots. Again, they're gonna cause you a headache down the road. Make sure it's fitting you appropriately, but you're gonna get that chipmunk cheek effect there. There's no escaping that. All right. I'm going to pull out the headliner right here. The snaps are over on the side. For me, it wasn't a problem. Depending on your head shape, that might cause some issues there. Usually we like to see those kind of out of the way or somewhere not around the forehead area. For me, it didn't bother me, but it is worth noting for some of you out there trying this on. And then it's swinging our way to the interior. You know, I mentioned some creature comforts, you know, geared towards the street riding application. You can see this large recessed area on the inside of the helmet designed to accommodate a Bluetooth communication system. And it's a fairly large area, so it should accommodate pretty much, you know, all modern Bluetooth units on the market today. So I do like how large the speaker cutouts. They're usually not large enough in most of the helmets, so you have to carve out some of the EPS or put some foam in there. So nice sizable recessed area for the speakers. And you can see we've got a breath guard, a small chin skirt as well on the inside. At $700, I think a lot of riders are going to be very impressed with the overall comfort, the performance, and the attention to detail, how, you know, easy these are to manipulate. I think HJC knocked it out of the park. But one of the last things I wanted to mention, I've been testing this helmet. I've been riding in it quite a bit for the past few weeks, and one of the things I noticed was a slight billowing effect anytime I was riding on the R6 over 60 miles per hour. It wasn't egregious by any means, but I think it's worth addressing. But I will note, I did have this attached to the rear of the helmet, right? Now, it is with this 3M Scotch, so I haven't removed it altogether just yet, but I'm doing a ride testing on this helmet, so I'll have more information on the overall wind noise that I kind of heard, and I want to see if it's directly related to adding this pronounced rear spoiler. So I'll have more information on that in that particular video, but I'm sure most of us know wind noise is incredibly subjective, right? Depending on your rate of speed, of course, the materials you're wearing, the size of your windscreen, what bike you're on, how tall you are. I mean, there are so many variables that go into the perceived wind noise, but it was something that I noticed, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Otherwise, I do feel that it's still, even with that, more quiet than most of the helmets I've used on the market. It is certainly on the quiet side of the spectrum, but I will note, this is a race bred helmet, right? You're doing your 20-minute sessions and coming back in most of the time for something like this, and I'd recommend wearing earplugs whether you're on the street or if you're in the racing application. So I'm excited to test that out, get some additional insight for you and additional detail in that ride tested video. So if that's something you're concerned with, keep an eye out for that. If you have any additional questions, something I didn't address for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to our customer service team. They're all riders, more than happy to get you pointed in the right direction. Thanks for hanging out for a bit, taking a closer look at the HJC RPHA 1-in helmet, aka RPHA 1-in helmet. I'm Brandon. Keep it pinned.